Hey everyone, it's Nate here with Element Van Life. Just going to do my Tuesday Q&A video here. I've been doing these every other Tuesday for now, guys. If you have questions, just post them below and I will answer them in the next Tuesday Q&A video. Guys, we have a lot of good questions this week, so I want to get started so this video doesn't take forever. So I've got a lot to go through, so let's get started. David asked, I know you've been living in the Element, or haven't been living in the Element for too long, but what is your social life like? How is it affected by this living arrangement? Overall, it really isn't affected much. I'm very upfront with people when I meet them, and I tell them that I live in my element, and I haven't really encountered too many folks that are like, ew, I don't want to talk to you anymore, or anything like that. Most people are very accepting of it. They're very okay with it, and I'll hang out with them occasionally, from that point on. Most of the people that I've been, in terms of social life, I've been spending time with are the people that I work with at the surf school and all that. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, they are pretty open to the concept that I live in the element. And in general, I'm relatively introverted, so I'm not the kind of person that needs to be around people every single day and go out every night or anything like that. I need that time to kind of be alone and kind of recharge a little bit. And I'm also spending a lot of time learning to code and doing all these different things, and it takes a lot of time. I don't really have a lot of time to be hanging out every single night anyways, but when I do get the opportunity to, I absolutely take it, and I haven't found that it really affects my social life much at all. And then he also asked, now that you're posting more often, have people started recognizing you? No, that hasn't happened yet. I don't know. I guess in theory it could happen. It's something that definitely could happen at some point, but it hasn't happened yet. I haven't had a YouTube subscriber or someone walk up to me and be like, "Hi, I recognize you." But I'm sure it could happen at some point, and maybe as I start traveling more, it will happen. I don't know. We'll see. Mike James asked, he said another great video. You talked about staying cool, but how do you do it at night? Do you use fans and stuff? So I did just put out a video on staying cool in the van, but I can answer that here. I mean, it's pretty simple. I do have a fan. This is the only fan I've got. It's just a little 12-volt fan right here. I bought it, I think, at Academy Sports for $20 or $30, and it plugs right in. I just plug it right into the USB hub down there, and my USB and 12-volt hub there, and it runs all night. No problem. The thing only uses half an amp, so it runs all night without any issues. Really doesn't even make much of an impact on the battery. So it works out. Definitely cools things down in here. Also, if I'm looking for a place to park, sometimes I'll run the AC full blast to kind of try to keep it cool. And while I'm driving around finding somewhere to park, and then I'll pull in, I'll set up running the AC, and then I'll cut off the engine, and it'll be a little bit cooler in here. If it's a really hot night, I'll do that. And with the Reflectix and everything, it keeps it really cool. It works out really well, so not bad. So Sonia Newakanma, I don't know if I said that right. I'm not sure. I tried. But she asked, can you do a more in-depth look at your Faucet Construction? And did you build the whole set inside the Element, or did you build it and then install it? So yeah, everything to answer that part of the question was built inside. I started with a frame that we built, and then we added, the plywood, and then we added each individual piece to it, with the trim and everything like that after the fact. So it was all built in here. I feel like to uninstall it, I would have to dismantle it. I made it so it's pretty easy, where I only need to pull out 4 screws and I can pull the whole thing out. But it will be a process to get it out of here, absolutely, because I did build it inside. About the sink, if you check out, I have a video about the build details of the Element itself, and I don't really have any footage of when I was building it, but I do have that where I went through and kind of showed everything. So check out that video if you haven't seen it already. It goes into detail about the build. And then the sink overall, this is just a little faucet here I got from Amazon, and there's a link to it in my on my website, elementvanlife.com. You can find that there, and it'll link right to it. This is a mixing bowl I got from Walmart for $5 and just drilled a hole in it. I'm sorry, it's a little dirty right now. And then underneath the sink, I have a freshwater tank, which I use. It's just like a little water bottle. I usually just replace the water bottle every couple of weeks. It usually takes to go through them. And then on the other side, I've got a little gray water tank there, which is kind of nasty inside. You can kind of see that it's got some sludge and stuff built up on it, but that's just the gray water tank. I'll empty that out every couple of weeks, and from here I just have a little clear tube that runs right up and it pumps the fresh water in, and then from there I've got a little red little red funnel that I use. And I use just duct tape and sealed it up on there really well. It's been pretty good. And that just drains right into the gray water tank. Pretty simple, very straightforward overall for the sink setup. That's cool. So it looks like you're living in an Element 2. Right on, right on. That'll be cool. I look forward to seeing that series. That'll be very cool. She asked, how do you wash your clothes? I just go to a laundromat. I think that's really the easiest way to do it. Looks like you said, I'm thinking of buying a Wonder Washer and a portable spin dryer. Do you think I could make them fit in the cabinet? Definitely not. The way that I have it set up, I mean, you could set it up differently, obviously. This isn't the only way to set up your interior, obviously, but for me, I could not personally fit anything in this cabinet. But if I show you in here, it is full with all of my food. I always keep food in this box, and I have a box of cereal usually. I mean, it's usually pretty small in there, and I actually have to go grocery shopping. I'm about to go grocery shopping right now, so I don't really have a lot of room to fit it in there. But if you designed it appropriately, I'm sure you could figure it out. It's just a matter of what you need, what you don't need, and then how you set it up. I personally would rather just do laundry for $3 a load or $3.50 a load at the. That includes drying at the local laundromat here. It's been working out really well. I do that like every 10 days or so, and it works out pretty well. She also said, I want to get an electric multi-cooker. Would your battery setup work for that, or would I need something stronger? And then, yeah, for like a cooker, I don't think that my battery would be good enough. All I have is a 35 amp hour battery. So that seems pretty unlikely that I would be able to run like a real cooker on there for an extended period of time, especially with the draw from my fridge and everything like that. Now, if I got maybe a bigger solar panel, like another 100-watt solar panel, and then upped it to maybe like a 70 or 80 amp hour battery, then maybe something like that would be possible. But for me, that's not something I've really thought about doing just yet. I'm fine with just using propane to cook for now, but those do seem pretty useful, though. The little 12-volt ovens, they're pretty cool. I've definitely seen some good reviews of them and everything. So if you get a bigger battery, that could definitely work for you, and would definitely be a useful thing to have, I'm sure. Do you see out of your rear window when you drive? Is the last question she asked. I don't know. I don't usually see out of the rear. I can't. Basically, when I'm driving, I use only my mirrors on the side, and I won't use anything else to drive around. Because it'd be a pain to take the reflectix off, and to be able to see out the back here, I mean, even I would only have this little window here to be able to see out of, so I'm okay though. I have those little extra mirrors on the corners of the window. I can show you guys. They're right there. I don't know if you can see them from here, but you see that little extra window on the corner there, the little circle one. That one works out really well. It's like the little blind spot, so I can see the blind spot fine, and I'm fine with that. I've been driving like that for a long time. Pretty much since I had the Element, I've had some sort of reflectix on the window, so it's worked out. Lisa Mallard said, enjoying your channel. Thank you. Do you think you have more space in there than an 08 Kia Sedona? I've never seen an Element in person. No, I think the Sedona probably has more space. It's possible that the Element has more headroom, but I mean, I've seen Sedonas in person. I've seen pretty much all those minivans in person, and I think lengthwise they typically have the Element beat. So Nissan Quest I know is really roomy inside because it's more boxy shaped, but yeah, the Sedona I'm sure is very similar. It's like a Grand Caravan or anything like that, or like I don't know what if Hyundai makes a minivan or not, but either way, it's they usually have like 6 feet or so between the front seats and the back of the van, without even having to move the front seats forward. For me, I have to move those front seats forward, so it's probably a little bit shorter, but maybe a little bit more headroom. We're just about the same. Ashmat asked, would you mind sharing the brand and model names of the solar panel and battery cable kit you're using? She said, never mind, I found your solar panel setup video, but I can share with you guys anyways. So the brand of the solar panel, I think, is HQ Solar. Really, all of those flexible solar panels that you see were originally made by Renogy, and I think Renogy had an issue with a lot of them being defective, so they sold because my first one was defective when I bought it from Renogy, but it's the same thing as the other ones that I've had. So except for the one I currently have has 100 watts instead of 50, but they're the same. It's the same thing, and I believe Renogy sold them to a bunch of different manufacturers who then fixed them and then resold them. So the one I have is HQ Solar. It's really just a repaired version of an old Renogy bendable solar panel, but that's how that is. The lead acid, it's a AGM sealed battery, deep cycle 35 amp hours. I don't know the name of the brand on that, but I'm sure you can see it in the solar video if you check out the solar video there. And then yeah, that's pretty much it though. The charge controller is a Renogy charge controller. It's a 30 amp PWM charge controller. And the cables were just the cables that came with it. This one here is just a typical cable that came with the Renogy system. It was like $10 extra, I think, and they threw it in there for like I think it's a 10-foot cable, and that was with it as well. All right, Josh Folkman asks, how are you making enough money for gas, food, and other necessities? So right now I'm in San Diego and I'm working a seasonal job as a surfing instructor here. You know, planning to continue doing that until the season winds down in August, and then from there, at the end of August, and then from there I'm going to be traveling more. I also do like freelance web development on the side. I've been teaching myself to code, so I'll spend time doing that as well, and that has been bringing in a little bit of income as well. But for the most part, it's from the seasonal job, and as I travel, I'm all right with getting a seasonal job or continuing to hopefully start making more money as a developer. We'll see where it goes, but that's my plan for the future. But right now, seasonal surf instructor job, coding, and web development, and that's how I've been making money. COD22LT says, hi Nate, I'm doing my first trial of living and traveling in my SUV next week, so I'm looking forward to your vid on staying cool. Question, I'll be traveling with a kayak. Have you had issues with enough roof space for your board and solar? Do you try to park in the sun so that the board bag doesn't block the sun from the solar panel? That's a good question. Yes, I absolutely have to try to park so that I'm always very mindful of how I'm parking, so that wherever the angle of the sun is, the board bag doesn't provide any partial shading. I've already got partial shading on the solar panel because I had to mount it underneath my roof rack, so there's a little bit of partial shading that goes on from it already. So yeah, I have to be very mindful that, like, if the sun is lower in the sky, the board bag isn't blocking the sun. But it's pretty rare that really only applies later in the day or in the early mornings. So I don't like freak out about it or anything like that. But I do, like, I'll always, a lot of the time, I'm in the habit of just kind of checking to make sure that there's no like serious shading going on the panel before I, if I'm going to leave the car for a few hours or something like that. I do make sure not to do that. Yeah, and then in terms of space, I mean, it fits perfectly. I made sure that it does that. So the board fits on the left side, the solar panel's on the right side. It's fine. It's just sometimes the board is obviously higher up, so it does cast a little bit of a shadow if it's later in the day. But then again, later in the day isn't really peak solar hours anyway, so I'm getting the majority of the solar hours, and they're not being affected by partial shading at all because it's when the sun is highest in the sky. So it works out. All right, AJ Foxbacher, I don't know how to say that, but he said, hey Nate, fellow Element owner here, cool, love your channel, man, thank you. If you ever decide to put extra lighting in the cargo area, consider using red LEDs. I've got them for my Element with the red, gaps, keep on keeping, okay, cool, so that wasn't a question, I thought it was, but yeah, definitely, the red LED seems like a really cool option, and I'm definitely thinking about getting like a strip somewhere. I just haven't had the chance to buy it yet, but I'm definitely thinking about that, and I've had suggestions for red before. I hear that it's pretty hard to pick up on, so definitely something I'm considering. Thank you for the suggestion. Dave Avery asked, you just found an 03 Element 2-wheel drive, so no sunroof. Does your sunroof play a vital role in your setup? Yeah, the sunroof is kind of important for my setup because of the fact that I run the solar cable through here. If I didn't have the sunroof, I don't know where I would run the solar cable. I guess I can maybe try to wedge it in the door or something like that, but for the most part, it seems like this is the easiest way, sort of drilling a hole in the roof, so or in the floor or something like that. But yeah, the sunroof's pretty important for the solar system. Otherwise, it's not important at all. I mean, it's cool that I can open it up like I have it opened right now and get some fresh air in here. Overnight, I'll pop it open if it's a warmer night, and also it helps with condensation if I open it up on colder nights as well. But you know, that stuff is relatively minor. The most important thing is having a space to run the solar cable in. So Chizzy D asked, how do you cope with summer living in the element? So I did just put a video out on that, and I answered that one already to an extent. But I mean, for the most part, it's just not spending time in the element when it's really hot out, you know, avoiding that sort of thing. If you check out the video, it'll go into more detail there. As well as winter living. So winter I actually haven't really experienced yet. The coldest nights I've spent were like in the mid-20s or so. I was in New Mexico, and it was pretty cold. I just used my sleeping bag and bundled up, you know, wore long john or long pajama bottoms, and you know, a sweatshirt, and I wore a hat and put socks on my feet, and I was good to go. I mean, I like sleeping when it's cold though. I like it when it's really nice and cold. So he also asked, when you were driving, can you see out the rearview mirror? I cannot. No, yeah, I can't see out the back window there. And then what year is my car? It's 2003 Honda Element. I don't know if there are any more questions here. I accidentally cut it off when I copied it here, but I think that should answer all of them. It's 2003 Honda Element. Data Geek says, hey Nate, I really love your channel. Thank you. Can you share your camera gear and maybe discuss what software you edit with, as well as what laptop you use? Thanks. Yeah, so my camera gear, I actually shoot almost everything on my phone. It's the LG G4. It has a really excellent camera in there that even has like a manual shutter mode, like where you can adjust the aperture and the shutter speed, which is pretty cool. I mean, it's still a point and shoot. It's not anything crazy, but it is what I use to shoot most of the video. I also have a GoPro Hero 3 Plus Silver Edition, which I use for some of like the action shots, and then some of the like the time lapses that I do. I'll use those as well because it gets a wider angle and you can kind of see more of what's going on. In terms of my computer, it's actually just kind of an older computer. I mean, it was kind of expensive when I first bought it, so it's definitely worked out, but it's 3 years old now. It's a Lenovo Yoga, which is nice because it has this little feature here where I can turn it into a tablet, which is nice, kind of, but I almost never use it like that, so it's not really that important. But in terms of, it doesn't have like a video card or anything like that. My next computer will definitely have dedicated graphics and a dedicated video card, so that I can have more editing capabilities and stuff like that. So. But yeah, I mean, it's just it's got a, I mean, I don't know how much detail you want me to go into with the computer. I'm kind of a computer dork, as you guys probably know, so I won't go into too much detail with that. But it's pretty cool though. It's worked out. For editing software, I use Movie Maker. I just use Windows Movie Maker so far. I want to upgrade to something else that has a little bit more capabilities eventually, because I can feel like I can get more creative with it. But Movie Maker has been fine so far, and I knew how to use it from years of using it in the past for school projects, things like that. So it works out. It's fine for now, and it's definitely you know, if you know how to use it, you can definitely get something out of it. I think, at least a little bit. Ravi Patel asked, are you from Boston? Yes, I am. I'm from Boston. I grew up on the south coast of Massachusetts, so about 45 minutes south of Boston in the New Bedford area. But yeah, that's why I'm always wearing like Boston teams and stuff like that. I feel like if you look at all my videos, you'll see that I have like a Boston sports team shirt on in all of them. But it's what I got. It's the shirts that I have. I am a Cleveland Browns fan though, not a Patriots fan. So in case you're wondering. Harvey No Shoe asked, did you have help with the sink faucet countertop construction? It looks like tools would be needed that did not fit in your element. Yes, I built it with my grandfather, who was he was a carpenter. You know, he's obviously retired now, but he was a carpenter, and he's very talented, and he helped me out a lot with it. No, I don't have any of the tools with me in the element. I keep like a very basic tool set with me under the passenger seat there, the front passenger seat. Otherwise, I don't really have much, but. Yeah, there's no way that stuff would fit in here, so I built it with him in December, so not too long ago. Stallone, I think Scott Stallone, asked, question and answer, have you been harassed by the cops yet? If they knock on your door, what is your reaction? I have not had any issues with the cops just yet. I know it's going to happen eventually, and I'm always waiting for it. I did get a knock at Walmart 3 days ago now. I think it was 3 days ago. I was parked there in the morning at like 8:15, and somebody knocked on the window, and it was like kind of like a playful, like a and I didn't really know like what to expect, and I just sat there silently. That was my reaction. Don't move, don't do anything. I heard the guy talking, and then he like walked away, and he was like talking to someone else and was like, yeah, there's a lot of them out here this morning, and then just walked away. I don't even know if he worked at the Walmart. I think he was just a random guy who was just like harassing people who stay in their cars, or maybe he worked there and was like going in for his shift and just wanted to like tell us something. I don't know, but I didn't respond, and he walked away within 2 minutes. That's my initial reaction, is don't move, don't say anything. And then if the cop is persistent and is like, get out of the car, and then obviously I'm going to comply with the officer and show respect for him, and hopefully he'll show that respect back for me in return. But we'll see what happens, you know, when that when that day comes. I don't know. I don't know how it will be. And then he also said, if your minivan gets stolen, what is your backup plan? I haven't really thought of that necessarily. I mean, I have insurance on my van, so if it gets stolen, hopefully the insurance will at least provide me with some sort of a refund. But yeah, I mean, it's probably book a flight and fly back to be with my family for a little while I sort things out. I mean, or go back to New Orleans, where I have a lot of friends who will hopefully be able to help me out and, you know, let me crash on the couch for a little bit while I get things figured out and buy my next van. But we'll see. Hopefully that doesn't happen. I'm pretty conscious of that sort of thing, so hopefully I luck out. Bobby Salazar asked for the last question, where do you use the bathroom? Public restrooms for number 2. Number 1, usually public restrooms as well, but I have a bottle in here that I can pee into if I need to at nighttime. But for the most part, I try to avoid it entirely. I'll use public bathrooms for the most part. I'm usually always in a public space. I'm either in a library working, or I'm at a Starbucks or at a restaurant if I'm grabbing dinner or something like that, or I'm in and out of grocery stores almost every single day, so I always time my grocery store visits when I need to go to the bathroom, and it works out pretty well. It's real easy. That's about it for questions, guys. So as always, feel free to post your questions below. I will answer them in the next video. I'll do the next one in 2 weeks, so that'll be when? That'll be on July 26th. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, guys, and I will talk to you all in the next video.